Hey guys, what's going on? It's Amy again with Bargain Mama, and today is Tuesday. I think it's the 18th because yesterday was St. Patrick's Day. Happy late St. Patrick's Day, guys. So, I have been sorry for the angle, first of all. I have not, obviously, you've seen I haven't done any hauls. I have not had any stuff out to haul. So, like I can't even think right now. Anyways, I don't have the stuff out that I need to properly hold, like the tripod and stuff to hold my camera. So you are like up on top of like a blanket that I tried to work. It just didn't work. So anyways, what I have to say is for months I have been contemplating my channel. So when I started my channel, it was during COVID and it was like about shopping, and I had been really watching a lot of channels like that, like YouTube channels. And so I started my channel, which is great. I absolutely love it. But I've realized now that after everything has happened, I feel like in the past year, between going to California, my grandson, I'm getting ready to have a granddaughter, guys. And then just like the economy, I don't care what you say, is not good. Everything is so expensive. I'm not blaming it on anyone. I'm just saying it's horrible. Everything is so expensive. The last thing I want to do is like hauls, have my whole channel just like on shopping, because first of all, I'm not even shopping that much because I mean, it is insanely expensive out there. So I'm trying to coupon and all that. But in the end, I don't know if you all know what my job is, but I do occupational therapy for several different places. And the reason I decided to do occupational therapy, so this Sunday I will be 44. When I was 28, I went to bed one night and I was super tired. I remember how tired I was. I was so incredibly tired. And I mean, I felt dumb, but I remember even telling my husband, like, I don't even know if I can get off the toilet by myself. Like, the amount of fatigue I could tell you it's like indescribable. Like, I didn't even want to breathe because I was so tired. Like, it was insane. So anyways, obviously I went to bed. The alarm went off the next morning, and I attempted to do my same morning routine and to reach over and turn the alarm off. And I realized that I could not. I realized I could not move my arms or my legs. And I was like, what the heck? Like, I was confused. And so I'm like calling for my husband, and I'm like, I can't move. And he was like, what? And I was like, I can't move my arms. And it's just so you know, not my current husband. So to see if I was, I guess, lying or not, he pushed me off the bed, which was a pretty high bed, and he realized I did not attempt to catch myself because I could not move my arms and legs. So my husband took me to the hospital. It was a smaller hospital. We lived in a smaller town, and they immediately said you have to go to Tucson, which was the larger town, and we believe you have this disease, this autoimmune syndrome called Guillain-Barré. People call it so many different things. That's just what they said it was. People say it's Guillain-Barré. I don't know. It's all the same thing. So you can come on here and correct how I said it. That's how they said it when I first was diagnosed, 34, that's 10. So 16 years ago. I do remember that it was during the H1N1, like that flu or something like that, because I remember my kids couldn't come to the hospital to see me. So anyways, I get transferred to Tucson Hospital. I had never been in an ambulance in my life. And I was now getting into an ambulance for in an ambulance going a little bit slower, I would say hour and a half to 2 hour ride with men I did not know, and with not able to move my arms and legs. I was paralyzed from the neck down. And I remember telling my husband before we left, can you please follow right behind us? Because I didn't know. It was the scariest moment of my whole entire life. I can promise you that. And I mean, you're paralyzed, you are in your first ambulance, and there's men. There was nothing wrong. I am so grateful and thankful to the people that helped me, but I mean, you're very just exposed. And I had no idea what was going on with me. And so I was very, very scared. And so we made it to Tucson, and I was admitted to the neuro ICU. and I was hooked up to all the monitors you could possibly imagine. I mean, I'm sure people have been hooked up to more, but not me. And they kept going off, just kept going off. And I kept trying to ask my husband what was wrong, but I realized that my voice was almost going away. And I was like, what is happening? And so apparently the like alarms that were going off were that my oxygen was continuing to drop. So from what I kind of understood at the time, and still it's very confusing still for me, it affects everyone in such different ways. Thank you, Lord, that I was never intubated. A lot of people have to be intubated. I was still breathing on my own, but I was having a very, very rough time. I had a mask over my face, and again, the alarms were going off quite often. And again, at that time, I had no idea what was happening. No, I was not in the medical field. I was a stay-at-home mom. My husband was a lineman. I had no idea what in the world was happening. Neither one of us knew really anything about anything. The internet was not a big thing 16 years ago. Like, you would not just pick up your phone and Google something. And I think I had a phone, but they were not like they are now at all. Yeah, no, I don't even remember. Yeah, the phones were not like they are now 16 years ago. So anyways, the alarms kept going off. Again, I was in a neuro ICU. I could not move from the neck down. And again, a lot of people, so what it does, I guess, is like, it starts shutting down like your all of your systems, from what I understand. Like, so it shuts down like your nervous system. It shuts down like your, respiratory system. Apparently it shuts down quite a bit, and it kind of, I believe, goes from like the outside in. And so like it had started at my fingertips or whatever, but I didn't notice because I was sleeping. And then it was now kind of, I guess, focusing on like my breathing and my voice, because every time I tried to talk, I was using so much breath that the alarms would go off. So you know me, I love to talk, and I was not able to even really speak because my oxygen would drop way too low. I remember that was for about 2 days, especially when I would go to sleep. My husband said those alarms were going off crazy when I was going to sleep, which everyone's oxygen drops when they're asleep. And so it was a very, very scary moment. I had 3 younger kids, all under the age of 10 at that point. And again, they were not allowed at the hospital. My husband was at the hospital with me 2 hours away. And so thank goodness for my mother, who it was a lifesaver during that time, and she just picked up. She just started taking care of my kids and doing what she needed to do. Even when my husband came back to the town we lived in to go to work, I mean, you know, he was working. I don't know if you know about linemen, they work long hours. So my mom just took over. She just started doing anything she needed to do to help so that I could recover. I ended up being in the hospital for a pretty big amount of time. Belle, stop. I'm sorry. I have you guys propped, like I said, on like some towels, and my dog just decided to come over and start moving them. Anyways, so I was in the hospital for several months. I was transferred out of the ICU at one point to the regular floor, and then from the neuro floor, not the neuro ICU, but the neuro floor, I was transferred into a rehab center, which again, I did not work in therapy at that time. So again, I was a housewife, like no idea what was happening. So as I was like progressing through, again, I couldn't see my children because no one under the age of 13 was allowed at that time, because I think it was like the H1N1 or something. So my kids could not come and see me. And again, my husband had to continue to work. So I really didn't have many visitors. I mean, which I didn't want. That is one thing. When I go to a hospital, I don't really like visitors. Like, I feel like if you get visitors and you have to stay awake and you have to entertain them, and I would just rather be left to do whatever I have to do to get stronger, to whatever. So anyways, I was in the hospital for several months. And just like, I'll go back to the hospital, but just in general, it was a year before I was able to stop not in the hospital, but it was a year before I was able to walk on my own without a walker or a wheelchair. But there's some people that can't, some people that never recover. So I'm very thankful. I still have horrible fatigue, horrible. But anyways, let's go back to the hospital. So again, I was in the hospital. I was 28 years old. Again, not in any kind of medical, didn't know anything about anything. And I remember, like I said, being paralyzed from the neck down. And I was laying there and I kept thinking, like, who's going to brush my hair? And I know that that sounds like a horrible thing. Like, I should have been grateful I was alive. But, you know, like, it's a big thing. Like, when you recover, like, people see the outward. For me, my hair is a big thing. It's something I try to take a lot of pride in. It's something, like, I don't know. I feel like, I mean, I take pride of what's on my inside too, but just for me, like, you know, I just lay there thinking, who's going to take care of my hair? Who's going to brush it? Are they going to have to shave me after this? And so I do remember that my cousin's wife, she would come up and brush my hair, which was amazing. But the one thing that I remember that's brought me to where I am today was, so this makes me, this is kind of how it goes. Like, everything happens for a reason. At the time, I was like, why me? Ooh, I'm gonna start crying. I was like, why me? Like, what did I do wrong? Like, it was horrible. It was a horrible experience. So anyways, again, 28 years old, and they were like, you need a shower. And I was like, well, I understand that, but how am I going to shower myself? And so I will never forget being 28 years old and sitting naked in a shower chair with somebody like washing me. It was, in the beginning, it was one of the most humiliating things I've ever had to go through. Like I'm 28. It just, I felt like I was totally exposed. Like, regardless of anything, like, I was naked with somebody washing me like I was a child. And it was a horrible experience in the beginning. But then I have to tell you, there was a woman that was the occupational therapist that was giving me my shower / bath type thing. And I remember her saying to me, I know that this is hard for you, but I want you to know, like, she talked me through it and she said, I want you to know that you're going to make it through this. And in no way should you be humiliated. You should be so proud that you've made it this far. And I'm telling you right now, she did everything she could to not let me feel humiliated in that shower. I mean, she kept a towel over part of my body when she wasn't washing it. She made sure that it wasn't cold, because I don't know if you've ever been in a nursing home shower. They are airy and you feel like you are in prison, which I've never been, but I'm going to guess that's what it feels like. It's just like tile and concrete walls. Anyways, she literally made me feel like I mean, it was the most amazing thing she could have ever done for me. Because not only was I naked in a shower, but if you've ever been into a rehab center, especially 16 years ago, we didn't have like the fast recovery ones that younger people are in. I was in a recovery center with people that were about 80 years old. It was like me and 80-year-old people. That was it. So it just kind of like, it was not fun. And I was very depressed. But like I said, this lady, this therapist, I mean, I truly don't know if I would have made it through without her. I just cannot describe to you. She talked me through everything. She would ask before she like removed the towel. When she was washing like my lower area, she would put the towel over my top area. I wasn't just sitting there totally exposed to some person I didn't even know. I cannot tell you the impact that woman had on my life. So anyways, I ended up, getting released and being in a wheelchair and a walker for a year and then recovering. And then my husband at the time and I we couldn't get along. I mean, it wasn't happening. Like, even before I got sick, while I was sick, and after, I was like, we can't do this. But again, if you remember, I was a stay-at-home mom. And prior to my husband, I was a waitress who lived on welfare. I didn't get like food stamps or anything, but my children were on state insurance. And I lived in one of my parents' houses, not with them, but they had a rental house. I lived in that. I pretty often needed my parents' help to pay my car payment. And why did I have a car payment? Well, because I was dumb and I thought I needed that car. And anyways, so then when I had met my husband, he made very good money and we were living very nicely. And I told myself, I'm not going to stay with this man because I want to stay like the financially stable of it. And I sat there one night and I was like, I need to figure out what I'm going to do with my life. And I will never forget, I thought of that lady. It was 2 years later, maybe 3. I thought of that lady that had helped me in the shower, that occupational therapist. And I said, I'm going to go back to college. And I said, I want to be that lady. I want to help people the way that lady helped me. And I'm not going to lie. I've been like, oh, I'm going to go to nursing college. I had a scholarship. I dropped out when I was like 19. I was like, oh, no. I had started everything and stopped. Like, not once did I had start something and kept going. And so not only did I decide to go to college, the college that I would have to go to was 2 hours away and I couldn't move. And again, I had 3 young children. So I said, Mom, I'm going to go to college. Would you help me with the boys? And I'm not going to lie. My mom was even like, yeah, right. Like, yeah, I'll help her for a little while. She's not going to make it. She didn't say that, but later she told me. And I thought the same thing. I was like, Amy, are you really going to get through this? Like, I'm not kidding. 2 years driving back and forth, 2 hours one way. I would get up at 4 a.m. so that I could leave my house by 6 a.m. I would get home between 2 and 4 p.m. I would try to study, try to be a mom, try to do everything I could to go back to school the next day. Like I said, the fact that I made it and that I completed something, I know that it was because of that lady. I know it's because of that therapist 3 years prior that made me feel so comfortable in the shower. So I went back to school for occupational therapy, the same thing that woman did. And I made a vow to myself that I was going to be that lady. I was never going to let somebody feel uncomfortable. I was never going to just do stuff to people without explaining it to them, whether they were in a coma, whether they had Alzheimer's. I didn't care. I was going to treat that person like we were having a one-on-one conversation. And so I have been doing occupational therapy for 11 years now. I love it. I love every second of it. And I worked in a nursing home for a long time doing skilled therapy. I still do per diem, but several years ago, some billing changes happened and it was way more for money. Like, you need to see all 5 of these people in a half an hour. And so you can bill for it so that the company will make money. And I'm like, how can you do anything for 5 people in a half an hour? Like, oh, put them in a group. Yeah, but what are you individually doing for them? What are you individually teaching them? Nothing. You're not individually doing anything for them. You're teaching them something they could probably learn off the internet. And so I said, yeah, not. And then the compassion. Oh my gosh. God. Nope. Like, and the therapists, the new ones that are coming out of school, unfortunately, the same way. They're like, well, you got to get them out. I'm like, oh, is that how you guys are being taught now? Like, and so I realized I was becoming somebody that hated my job. I didn't want to go to work because I didn't want to work around the new therapists. I didn't want to do a group with 5 people in half an hour and bill for it. Like, you really did skilled therapy. How is that skilled? Well, just word it correctly. Okay. So you want me to fraud all the systems. Anyway, so I will never, so I went per diem for the company, which I still work for. I've worked for them for 5 years, and I'll stay per diem. I don't believe I will ever go back to a nursing home just because of the new laws that have implemented, and most new graduates from occupational therapy go to a nursing home. You have to have a certain amount of time under your belt and stuff to go to home health or anything. And there's just so many people that hire so many nursing homes, skilled therapy facilities that hire new grads. And so that was another thing. Like, I can't do the new grads. So I went back to doing home health, but I do home health with mostly autistic children. So some of them aren't autistic, but every one of them has some sort of a disability, if you want to call it. I don't really call it a disability, but they are on DDD, which is like the Department of Disability something. I don't know. So anyways, every one of them get like some kind of social security because they have been diagnosed with something. Most of them are autism. I would say 75%. I have 30 clients right now. I know, that I see once a week. And I would say 75% of them are autism. And so I have been thinking, and I was like, I feel like, so I buy all my own stuff that I use with my clients. I kind of come up with my own things. I look on Pinterest, I look in different places and get ideas and then decide what I'm going to make or do with my clients that week. Every Sunday, I go into my garage and I have several. It started at one bin, but it's several now. Several bins in my garage. And I think, okay, what am I going to do with this patient this week, this patient this week? And I have a kind of an open-faced bin in the back of my SUV. And so I put all the stuff kind of nicely in order in there for my clients for that week. So I know exactly what I'm going to do with them. If I don't have what I want to do with them, I will make it. And that's where the Dollar Tree comes in. So, and that's where my channel now comes in. I am going to still possibly do like hauls and stuff, but most of my DIYs and possibly my hauls are going to be stuff that you can use not only for autism, but for any child, any person, because some of my patients are not children. They're grown. These people don't grow out of these things. And again, when I became ill at 28 years old, I had to learn how to do all this stuff again. And so this is not for children. A lot of people like, oh, that's stuff for kids. No, it's not. No, it is not. Because again, like, you don't know what's going to happen to you in your life. And so again, that's where I'm steering my channel. I'm going to change the name. It is Bargain Mama. I'm going to change it. I don't know. I was thinking of changing it to like Bargain Therapist. I don't know, because Bargain Therapy. I don't know what I'm going to change it to, honestly, at this point, but I am going to change it because I do, like I said, want to go a different route with my channel. Just because I love watching haul channels, don't get me wrong, and there's so many of them. And so that's why I was like, there is a lot of channels that people can watch, but there's not a lot of how can I do fine motor coordination with my child? How can I do gross motor coordination? How can I teach them to do this? I don't have a lot of money, so how will I do this? Or I do have a lot of money, but how do I do it? So I said, Amy, that's what we're going to do. And so I'm going to come on sometimes with like simple DIYs. So like, let me just show you this one. I, not too long ago, put up like a very, very short video of this from the Dollar Tree. So this is, again, just the Dollar Tree puzzle, but like I put the Velcro from the Dollar Tree on here so that when I pick this up, it won't fall out for my clients, okay? So not only, I'm just gonna give you an idea, like, so you're like, oh, it's a clock. The amount of things that you could do with this are insane. So first of all, it helps you with color, helps you with shape, it helps you more with strengthening now because there's now resistance added on removing these. Instead of them just falling out on their own, you now have to use at least some hand strength in your fingers and your hand to remove this from the Velcro. So the Velcro being on there is not just like, oh, I need the Velcro on, like, because it's going to make it, it's going to make it not fall out. No, it's also, like I said, it adds resistance. So that's, again, one more thing. The numbers in here, the clock. You have so many different things. And do you know one of the biggest things I see about a lot of my children is when we say something, we'll say, green triangle, 3, the letter, or so we'll say like 3, green triangle, and 3, okay? So when I ask children, or I'll say, so like 3, or I'll say, where's the green triangle? Okay, we'll just go with that. Where's the green triangle? I just want you to know that if there is another triangle on that table, or if there is another square or another green one, or if I say, okay, so what color is this? They'll say triangle. No. So what we do is we're like, oh, look, this is a green triangle. But they're not understanding what the color is and what the shape is. The color is green. The shape is a triangle. So I will, if you reverse it, like I said, and say, where's the triangle? Or like, okay, again, like, what color is this? They'll say triangle. Or if you say, what shape is this? They'll say green. Because again, we are fluidly adding it all together. So we'll say, show me the green triangle. So that's one thing that I wanted to point out to people. Like, we really need to piece it. Like, it's very different. Like, we need to say, like, where is the color green and the shape triangle? Just so you guys know. That was just an idea of what my channel is going to be going to. I know a lot of you are like, unsubscribe, unsubscribe. There will be ones that are not like so kind of like minute, but I just wanted to come on and let you guys know why I'm changing my channel name, and that I am changing my channel name and the whole thing. So I'll still do probably, I don't know, hauls sometimes, but it'll mostly be like, what did I haul for my patients this week? And how did I utilize it differently than how they have it? Just like yesterday, I bought the egg dye coloring cups and marshmallows, and my client and I dyed marshmallows. I can't even tell you the amount of like therapy and like their mind they had to use to figure out like how to put it in there. How do I get it out? How do I do this? How do I fill it up? Yeah. And so again, like, I'm not going to show you like, here's slime. You play with it with your hands. Y'all know that. You're not dumb. But I'm going to show you just how I utilize so many different things, like to do so many different, like, just how you can use it differently, how you can make your child a sensory wall out of Dollar Tree items and it won't look cheap. So just all those different things. I'm almost at 30 minutes. I'm sure I've lost a lot of people, but I did just want to come on and tell you guys, yes, I'm changing my channel. I totally understand people unsubscribe and stuff, but it just is something I feel like I need to do. And it's not, like I said, I've been thinking about it for months. Obviously I haven't made hauls in a month, and I just feel like that's what I need to do. So I hope that you all have a great day, and happy late St. Patrick's Day, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye guys.